reports are that King Charles has vowed to protect Beatrice and Eugenie, whereas Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, faces life without her title, Duchess of York. Of course, she agreed not to use it after Prince Andrew relinquished his Duke title after the ongoing fallout with Jeffrey Epstein. But
the image was perfectly calculated. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, all smiles, standing shoulder to shoulder with the King on the steps of St. Mary Magdalene Church this past Christmas. A flawless display of royal unity. But 30 miles away, another frame was being captured. Their father, the exiled Prince Andrew, driving alone through the gates of Royal Lodge, his face grim, his Christmas spent in isolation. Two scenes, one fractured family, and according to senior royal insiders, that contrast wasn't a coincidence. It was a calculated strategy. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the explosive accusation that the disgraced Duke of York, cut off from the institution that defined his life, is now deploying his own daughters as his eyes, his ears, and his only remaining passport back into the fold. This isn't just about family tension. This is about a desperate man, a palace on high alert, and two women caught in a loyalty trap with no easy exit. To understand the desperation, you have to understand the sheer scale of the dismantling. Andrew's fall isn't a simple demotion. It's a systematic, public unmaking. First went the military titles. The uniforms, the affiliations, the honours he wore as a second skin, stripped away. Then the royal patronages, the charitable links that provided purpose and profile, severed. The His Royal Highness style, erased from official view. Then came the financial vice. The king's slimmed-down monarchy had no line item for a liability. Andrew was cut off from the sovereign grant, forcing a reliance on a diminished private income and the support of his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. And now, the final physical blow, the eviction notice. The 30-room Royal Lodge, his home for over 2 decades, a symbol of his status as a senior royal, is being taken back. He's being offered Frogmore Cottage, the same house Harry and Meghan were exiled from. The symbolism is brutal, and it's intentional. This is a man who has lost his identity, his funding, and is now losing his home. He's backed into a corner with nothing left to leverage but his bloodline. Into this crisis step Beatrice and Eugenie. They occupy a unique and precarious space within the Windsor hierarchy. They are non-working royals with successful private careers, largely insulated from direct public funding scandals. Yet, they are also deeply embedded in the family's emotional core. By all accounts, they share a genuine, warm bond with King Charles, are close confidants of the Princess of Wales, and are doting cousins to the future monarch, Prince George, and his siblings. They have navigated a near impossible tightrope, remaining in the warm inner sanctum of the institution, while their father is treated as a radioactive pariah. But that tightrope is fraying. Every public move is now a coded message. Their decision to attend Sandringham this Christmas wasn't just a family visit, it was a high-stakes diplomatic statement. The expected protocol, given the toxic cloud around Andrew, would have been to decline the invitation, to avoid the spectacle, to not force the family to choose. Their very visible, very cheerful acceptance broke that script. It signalled allegiance. But to whom? The king who welcomed them, or the father who raised them? That's the bind. Their love is their greatest asset and their most exploitable vulnerability. This brings us to the damning analysis from those who have chronicled this family for decades. Royal experts Ingrid Seward and Charlie Ray didn't just report on the Christmas appearance, they framed it as an intelligence operation. Seward's wording was chillingly specific. I don't think Beatrice and Eugenie had a choice. Andrew said to them, "You have to go. because he wants to keep a foot in. He wants to know what's going on. He'd want to know what people were saying about him. This aligns with a long-standing whispered strategy often attributed to Andrew and Sarah Ferguson's circle, the concept of the daughters as a passport. Fergie herself once famously called the girls exactly that, her passport to public relevance and connection. Now, that passport is being used for a darker purpose: reconnaissance. Charlie Ray speculated that the debrief would be immediate and granular. The first thing that would have happened when they got back would be Andrew on the phone saying, "Right, who said what?" It transforms family gossip into vital intelligence for a man starving for relevance and fighting for survival. So, what is this intelligence worth? What does a prince in exile need to know? First, and most urgently, the housing endgame. The negotiations over his move from Royal Lodge to Frogmore are fraught. What's the timeline? Is there any last-minute resistance from within the palace walls? Are there any allies left in the household who might sway the king? Second, the family's private reaction to the continuous drip of Epstein file releases. The published photos and names keep the scandal alive. Is there fresh fury around the private dining table at Windsor, or just an exhausted, embittered resignation? Third, and perhaps most painfully, the shifting dynamics of the family he's been excluded from. How is the king's health truly bearing up? How is William's influence growing? What's the mood regarding Harry's possible return? Andrew isn't just curious, he's paranoid about his own erasure from history. His daughters are his only window into the world he can no longer touch. From King Charles's vantage point, this situation is a managerial and emotional nightmare. His affection for Beatrice and Eugenie is reported to be real and protective. Including them is an act of uncooly kindness, a way to shield them from their parents' disasters. But as monarch, he must view them as potential security vulnerabilities. Every gentle moment they share with him, every casual comment from William or Catherine, becomes information that could leak back to Royal Lodge. The palace machinery is built on controlled messaging and absolute discretion. The fear isn't that the girls would deliberately betray secrets, but that their mere presence creates a channel, that their normal, loving conversations are inevitably filtered through the lens of a desperate father's interrogation. The unspoken bargain is believed to be this: you can keep your place at the family table if you visibly, publicly uphold the monarchy's distance from your father. Their beaming Sandringham appearance upheld that bargain brilliantly for the cameras. But in doing so, they may have also perfectly executed their father's only remaining play. Let's talk about the atmosphere at Royal Lodge itself. Reports from staff circles and biographers over the past 2 years paint a picture of deepening isolation and simmering resentment. Andrew is said to feel profoundly victimised, believing himself to be the subject of a ruthless campaign. His social circle has shrunk dramatically. The lavish lifestyles of him and Fergie, maintained for years through a complex web of gifts, loans and royal subsidies, are now unsustainable. The reported £3 million annual upkeep for Royal Lodge is a financial millstone. This isn't just about downsizing, it's about a forced austerity that strips away the last vestiges of his princely life. This financial pressure is the palace's most potent weapon. It makes him dependent, and it accelerates his need for information. Any leverage, any insider knowledge that could buy him time, money, or a better deal. His daughter's access isn't just about sentiment. In this context, it's a potential economic asset. The true cost of this crisis is borne by Beatrice and Eugenie. The psychological strain of this dual loyalty must be immense. They are accomplished women in their own right. Beatrice in tech and business, Eugenie in the art world. yet their public identities are increasingly overshadowed by this narrative. Are they loyal nieces or their father's agents? Every smile at a palace event is now scrutinised for hidden meaning, and the reckoning is coming. The physical eviction from Royal Lodge will be a deeply humiliating, very public event. When that van pulls up, will the daughters stand silently by? Will they break ranks and publicly plead for mercy for their father, risking their own hard-won standing? Or will they, to protect their husbands, their children, and their own futures within the wider family, have to finally let go? That is the next agonising chapter. Andrew's last piece of leverage is the unconditional love of his children. The most disturbing question now being asked in palace circles is just how much he's willing to draw upon it. The story of Prince Andrew's fall is no longer just his story. It's a slow-motion ripple effect of disgrace, pulling everyone within its reach into a conflict with no winners. Those cheerful Christmas photos promise continuity and family warmth, but behind the perfect smiles lies a much colder narrative of exile desperation and the grim accusation that familial love has been weaponized into a last-ditch espionage campaign. The palace has removed the prince, but it cannot so easily remove the father. And in that unresolved tension, in that exploitable bond, lies an ongoing crisis. The institution has built a wall around Andrew, but he may have found his last two messengers, living right on the other side. The final cost of this scandal is still being calculated, not in pounds, but in trust, loyalty, and the very bonds that are supposed to hold a family together.